everyone. My name is Katherine Weigel. I have lost 145 pounds,
Whoa.
and I am an obliger, which we will tell you more about today. And with me today is my questioner husband,
Donald Weigel. And yes, I am a questioner. I have lost about 100 pounds, a little over.
No questioning your dedication. You might question other things, but not that.
I do question what the heck forktastic means, but...
I was trying to say, what's the Four Tendencies? That's the name of this episode.
Oh, you could have said something like, this week's episode is brought to you by the number 4, like on Sesame Street.
No, but it's the Fork Tendencies.
Oh,
We're saying the
fork tendencies.
Like I could have said spork. I could have also gone to the good place and used fork in a different way, but this is a classy show, and we will not say it that way.
Super classy. That's how people always describe us in our reviews. Like, they're so classy.
So classy
and good looking.
You know what? You say it enough, you believe it.
Yeah.
So we've got, both of us have faces for podcasts today. It is early here in America, USA. It is really hot out, so we are recording at the break of dawn.
Yeah.
And
trying to get it in before it hits 100 later on today.
Yeah, we had to turn off 25 fans before we started recording.
We would turn one off and be like, "Oh wait, there's another fan on. No, there's another fan on. No,
there's another fan on." So it's hot. So we're gonna make this short. It doesn't seem like it by this preamble, but it's already getting hot in here. So.
Wow, well said.
Thank you. So we are going to talk about the Four Tendencies, not Fork Tendencies. Ha ha ha. We like plays on words.
This is like imaginary friend of the show, Gretchen Rubin.
She doesn't know it, but we do.
Yeah. She's not imaginary, but in our imagination, she's our friend.
That's how like all those Lifetime movies start. Like, single white female, like, oh, Gretchen Rubin's my friend.
My best friend.
She's the best
best friend of the show. I like when we're recording, I like to imagine she's sitting in between us on her couch at home and encouraging us to
Gretchen
do a good
Rubin.
show.
No, she has changed my life in many ways. And because she's changed my life, she's changed Donald's life. So thanks, Gretchen.
Yeah, she has come up with for real. She's come up with a framework, and it's a way in which people meet expectations. And the idea behind it is it's almost kind of like a habit system or a way to understand your motivation. And, we spent most of our lives being like, if I just found the right diet, or if somebody just put me on the right exercise plan, that I could do this and I could lose the weight and keep it off.
Right. And if I just had the motivation, if I just listened to, Eye of the Tiger, then I could get it done.
Yeah.
And when I started this, and Donald was just saying, I spent 25 years just waiting for that one weird trick. And the big trick that never occurred to me was my own mindset.
Yeah.
And it was only in 2016 when I started this last time joint venture that I thought to myself, there must be people with better ideas than I have in my own brain. Yes, it took me until my 40s to figure out that I didn't know it all. And one of the podcasts that I found was Happier with Gretchen Rubin. So Gretchen Rubin's Four Tendencies framework talks about how you meet expectations. Are you self-motivated? Do you need motivation from others? Or can you not be motivated by anything at all, which is another problem. So Donald was going to break out her Four Tendencies, and we're going to talk about how it affects weight loss and how you manage your relationship with food.
Yeah, essentially she breaks it down into the fact that there are 4 different types of people who meet expectations. There are outer expectations, which are what other people expect of you, and inner expectations, which is what you expect of yourself. And there are 4 different types. The first type is an upholder, and upholders are the smallest group of people, and they respond readily to both outer and inner expectations. So if somebody expects something of them, they do it. If they expect something of themselves, they do it. And their motto is, discipline is my freedom. And those people sound really annoying.
No, but that's like your Hermione Granger. If we're going into the sorting hat of personalities, this is someone who sets their mind to something and they get it done. Like Chopin.
Chopin was probably an upholder for sure. And then there are questioners. Those are people like me. And
good looking.
Wow, Why, thank you. Questioners, they question all expectations, but they'll meet an expectation if they think it makes sense. And essentially, she says they make all expectations into inner expectations. And their motto is, I'll comply if you convince me why. So it's really about gathering information and feeling like you're on the right path, that you're choosing the right method, and that you have all of the data. It's a lot about data gathering.
Right. So when Donald's doctor gathered the information that he would lose a leg if he didn't get his diabetes under control, Donald said, "Aye, aye, Captain.
Yeah.
I will not lose my leg."
Yeah, exactly. And then the next group is obligers, and Catherine is in this group. And these are people who meet outer expectations, but they struggle to meet the expectations they impose on themselves, which makes them very bad at self-care.
Why you gotta at me, bro? What is our motto?
The motto is, you can count on me, and I'm counting on you to count on me.
Yeah, I definitely need a lot of external accountability.
Exactly. And then the last group, which I think is the second smallest, is rebels. And rebels resist all expectations, inner and outer alike. They're the types who like blow with the wind, man.
Man. They say words like man.
Man, they're free spirits. You can't pin them
Man.
down. They don't know how they're going to feel about doing anything at any given time. And their motto is, you can't make me and neither can I.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of that in me also.
Yeah, and I was about to give an example, but we'll save it for when we go into these one by one. And I think that the idea here is putting in the work in order to reach your goal weight is a lot of this. It's not inconsequential. You really have to, do the food plan, do the diet plan, do the exercise plan. But to me, the more and more I do this, the longer I keep the weight off, the more I think it is really about mindset and motivation. And you have to have the right mindset and motivation in order to make yourself, in a sense, do the work. And I put the number somewhere between 60 and 70% mindset at this point. And then the other 30% is just doing the work.
Right.
Like once you have the mindset down and in place, then it's a matter of doing the work.
Well, and I think the big part of this and why we wanted to bring up the Four Tendencies is knowing yourself better in this process and understanding how your mind works really does matter, because the way I manage my weight loss with outer accountability in support groups and checking in with people is not the way Donald is motivated.
No.
And you can often feel like you're being judged by someone else because they are not motivated the way you are. I have someone in my life who's like, just do the work, just get it done, make it happen. And they don't understand why I need outer accountability and support groups. That, they think it's like, well, once you make the decision, you just get it done. That person is an upholder.
Yeah. And those people typically have never even had weight problems. And it may be the case of them, maybe they've never had a weight problem, but suddenly they've put on 5 or 10 pounds and then they're, become motivated to do something about it. But usually they haven't dealt with weight issues all of their lives because they're just, they set an expectation and they just meet it.
Right. So we're going to go through each of the 4 tendencies in order and kind of talk about some personality traits they might have, some ways that you might be able to manage your health habits by knowing your tendency better. And if you want to take the 4 tendencies quiz you can go to the Gretchen Rubin website, gretchenrubin.com, and take her quiz so that you can find out. I think through this episode, you will probably be able to figure out what
most people can figure out what they are just by hearing about the different tendencies. I pretty much knew I was a questioner before I took the quiz, but then once I took the quiz, maybe it's confirmation bias, but once I took the quiz, it said, yes, you're a questioner. So, but she has a quiz on her website. I'll link to it in the show notes.
But she also says that questioners are often say like, why should I take a quiz? Like, what's a quiz going to do for me? So you might be a questioner if you talk like that.
See, that's funny because I love quizzes, but oh well.
Anyway, so we're going to start out with upholders, which again is the smallest group, the elite, you might say. But I have, like, my stepmother is
They're standing on their mountains looking down at the rest of us.
Well, but for upholders, once you decide to do something, you do it. And so that was what Donald was saying was upholders might have weight issues, but once they realize they do, they're quick to move on it and take action.
Yeah, and if you're an upholder and you're having weight issues, it's probably much more about just putting it on your radar. That maybe you're just not even thinking about it is the reason that you have the weight issue in the first place. And it's probably for you, and it sounds really easy. There's a whole bunch of other people out there going, must be nice.
Yeah.
It's probably for you just a matter of putting it on your radar and deciding it's important. Because once an upholder decides something is important to them, then they do it and they follow through.
Right. So upholders might be very successful and very direct in their normal life, but as they put on weight and realize that they have an issue, they'll quickly move to pick a plan, take action on it, have the structure, and that structure gives them, the discipline to get it done. We actually had a member of Wolt Place, WOLT Place, who was an upholder.
That's our, in case you don't know, if you're a first-time listener, that's our online accountability group for people, and it's fantastic for obligers, but we'll get that. Oh, it's fantastic in general, but we'll get to that a little later.
Right, so we actually had a member of the group, Deta, that's her name, from Germany, and she was an upholder. She picked a plan, she lost the weight, and actually decided she didn't need to be in Wolt Place because she was self-motivated. And I really understood that because once she got her momentum and she got her focus, it was nice to be in the group, but it wasn't something that actually helped her get her numbers down on the scale because she was self-motivated to do that. So they might enjoy accountability or fellowship in a running club or some sort of activity.
Yeah, and it's probably temporary. You were talking about, there's an article on the Gretchen Rubin website written by a personal trainer that you were telling me about earlier, and she said some things about upholders.
Yeah, so she said Rachel Trotta wrote an article about Gretchen Rubin and the Four Tendencies and health, and she said that they might need short-term accountability, but that in the long run that they can, they might need a personal trainer a couple of times, and then they can be self-motivated and self-guided to get that done on their own with the use of a spreadsheet. They might enjoy solo sports or group activities, depending on whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. But they don't need long-term checkups. They get their focus and then they move forward from it. The thing with them, though, and this is something that Deta actually mentioned, was that she can be over strict with herself. So she can pick a plan, but then realize okay, I decided not to have sugar. And Gretchen Rubin is actually an upholder.
Yeah.
Must be nice. But Gretchen Rubin cut sugar out of her diet. And then it has never looked back. And it can be a very strict adherence to something. But being able to say as an upholder, hey, I know I said I was going to go vegetarian, but I really would like to have some fish sometimes. And you can change your plan. There's no vegetarian police. There's no fish police who are going to come and take away your badge. But if you decide that you want to modify, you can do that. So as an upholder, you might adhere to a plan, but then have the flexibility to pull back and change and modify if you want to.
Yeah, and I think
direction.
questioners have a similar issue also with inflexibility, which I will address in our next section. I just wanted to say one more thing about upholders, which is that I think that if you think you're an upholder, I think you really should take the quiz, because I think if you misidentify yourself as an upholder, there's a real danger in thinking that you're going to have it all under control.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true, because there are parts of my life where I am an upholder and then others where I'm an obliger. But upholders can definitely misdiagnose themselves or think that they're doing it all if they identify that way, but then maybe don't take action on it, I think can be an issue.
Yeah, and I think that the actually taking the quiz can really help, because I think there's a certain amount of pride that can come with being like, well, I'm an upholder. Like I just set my mind to something and I do it. Or if I find something important, then I get it done. But in actuality, you might be an obliger or a questioner, and your motivation, you really need something different than what you think you actually need.
Yeah. Do you think upholders are Slytherin? I think they might be.
I don't know. It's possible. It is almost like there should be some sort of sorting hat for these four tendencies.
I feel like I've made some assignments. I don't know if they're true, but we'll we'll see as we go along. How about that?
And then, so the next thing is what I am, which is a questioner. And questioners, as we said before, they need to be convinced that something is important. For me, it's usually about gathering data and evidence from a reliable source before I believe that something will work. And in the terms of weight loss and fitness, it's kind of like I had to be convinced that walking counted as exercise, for example. And once that was a heck of a revelation, because then it was like, oh, wait, I can walk. I don't have to like do exercises that I absolutely hate that kill me. You know, 'cause I had worked out with a personal trainer for a long time and I hated just about every minute of that, but I thought I had to do it. I thought that was the only way to do it. But having that data, and then I'm also very data driven in terms of having a Fitbit, like having all that data on me and being able to see like, oh, if I walk more steps, then I feel better and the scale goes down. If I eat fewer calories, I track all my food on the Fitbit app. And for me, all of that weighing and measuring fits right into what I like, which is to have the data. I have the data, I have the evidence, and then I see the results, which is the scale moving.
What? Well, I think it kind of occurred to me now, those memes that are, it's like a table out in a quad and it's like, change my mind. Like, Weight Watchers doesn't work. Change my mind. Like that is kind of the questioner. It's kind of the questioner.
Yeah. And the real problem with being a questioner is getting decision fatigue or decision paralysis. And just being so afraid of choosing the wrong plan because you don't have all of the data. Like I have a problem with, I will get a gift card for something and I will agonize over whether I'm using the gift card to its greatest value on something rather than just like get something I want and move on.
Well, and I see a lot of people who say like, I want to get a fitness tracker. Which one should I get? Should I get the Garmin? Should I get the Apple? Should I get the Fitbit? Should I get the Fitbit Blaze? Should I get the Fitbit blah, blah? And I'm just like, get the pretty one. Get the one that you're going to put on your wrist. Because it doesn't really matter. But in terms of our relationship, and all of this has to do with relationships around you too, because knowing other people's tendencies can help you not feel as judged.
Yeah.
Donald questions so much, and I used to see it as an attack on my personality, when it turns out he is just motivated by data. So
I just like to gather information. I have this problem at work too, where I will ask people questions and they think I'm attacking them. They think that I'm saying to them, like, why are you doing something a certain way, when I just want to know what they're doing so that I then have the information that I can pass on to other bosses at work when they're trying to make decisions.
But it's also difficult for you if you think their reason is stupid.
Yeah. No, that's also true too. And my advice to people who are questioners is to think about it like a science experiment. And instead of getting paralyzed trying to come up with the perfect plan, let's say you've got it narrowed down to 3 or 4 or 6 plans, 8 plans, whatever it is. Maybe you think all of them might have valid things. Just eeny, meeny, miny, moe it and pick one. Do it for a while. And if you get results, you can keep doing it. And if you don't get results, then you chalk it up to an experiment. Because part of this mindset that we talk about all the time is that you have the rest of your life to do this. It doesn't have to be that you pick a plan and that's the plan you're on forever either. Like it's not like a marriage.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
No, but I mean, like, you're not just like, well, I'm going to do Weight Watchers. That doesn't mean you're committing to Weight Watchers for the rest of your life. If it doesn't work for you in a few weeks, a month, a couple of months, you can try something else, because you're think of it as a science experiment. Like I said, you're gathering data and trying to figure out what is going to work for you. And I do this all the time. I change the time of day I eat things just to see what happens. I change what kinds of food I eat at different times to see what happens. And I have developed a plan that I mostly stick to, but it was based on trying and erroring, trying and erroring.
Trainering.
Or as some people say, trial and error.
There we go.
And, basically the scientific method of gathering that data and figuring out if I have results. And not being afraid of choosing the wrong plan is really important as a questioner.
Well, and I think a couple of, from the outside looking in at the questioner, I think the word agonizing can play into this. I agonize about which plan to follow. I agonize about which fitness tracker to get.
Absolutely.
I agonize. And that overthinking can be paralyzing, like Donald said, but also like we did an episode called Weight Lossmosis, where you're thinking about doing something. You're in a weight loss group.
Yeah.
You're near a gym. And you think that just by being close to it, you're making progress because you're thinking about it. You're researching. You're coming up with
in the
grids.
meantime, you're trying to figure out what the best walking shoes are, by doing all the information online, but you're not actually walking, but you're in a group and you think that you're doing something by just doing the research.
Well, and I might see this in Wolt Place. Let's call it Wolt Place because that's what it is. But people who are like, I'm here, I'm not losing any weight. If you don't actually do the work, if you don't start experimenting, you're not going to see the results.
Yeah,
so,
we've said on other shows, like, don't confuse motion for action. And the motion of gathering the information can feel like you're doing something when actually you're still in the same place.
Right. And Donald is not an obliger, and he is not necessarily looking for too much outer accountability. I think it's good to talk about it, and he likes to keep it front of mind. But he is in Wolt Place because he's an admin, but he doesn't need that external accountability to get things done.
No, but I do think that I get a certain amount of accountability from you. I think that we feed off of each other.
Let's call it henpecking, shall we? Let's just call it what it is.
Wow. I didn't say it, everyone.
I don't actually.
Please
no,
save your hate letters.
He is much more self-motivated. I have to alert him. We'll talk about obligers next. I need to alert him to my activities much more than he needs to alert me.
Well, why don't we talk about obligers?
That sounds great. Okay, I'm going to say it. I think questioners might be Ravenclaw. What do you think?
Oh, probably. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Getting it done.
Yeah, exactly.
So obligers, the fun ones. I think obligers might be Hufflepuff.
The fun ones? Yeah, maybe they're Hufflepuff.
They're fun. They like group activities and
exactly.
games in the quad.
It's true.
So I found out that I am an obliger. I am terrible at just doing things on my own. I need external accountability. I need other people to be counting on me to get things done.
Yeah.
The more
obligers have a hard time saying no to other people too.
No, I don't.
Which is also a problem.
Well, but that is a very big problem.
It's a problem,
we can talk about
but you
that.
can use it to your advantage in this case, which is to make everything about outer accountability.
Yeah.
Like, make all of your things. If you realize that you have something that you want to accomplish, you've got to rope somebody else into this.
Rope them in. That sounded a little judgy, Mr. Ravenclaw.
I didn't mean it to.
No, but I mean, I wrote all these things down too. And this is going to look great on my resume. Not self-motivated, bad at follow-through. I need contact with other people. I'm really compelled by trackers and habit charts, small group follow-up. If you're anonymous in a group of 1,000, you can hide behind the masses, but having a few people that you're in contact with can really be meaningful. Often, and I think Donald was going to mention this, so I'll just let him mention it.
No, you go ahead.
How do spouses and sweethearts do as accountability buddies?
Well, that's the irony of this. According to Gretchen Rubin, is that spouses and partners and romantic partners typically make bad accountability buddies.
She doesn't call them accountability buddies, but we do.
Accountability buddies or accountability partners, because the obliger starts to see their romantic partner as an extension of themselves, and therefore their romantic partner no longer has that sway over them, that external. They don't see it as external accountability anymore.
Well, and two, I can't recall where I heard it. It could have been on a TV show. It could be someone I know. I honestly don't remember.
Let's just start naming places you could have heard it. You could have read it in a newspaper, on an article online.
No, No, but there was a woman who said that her husband wanted her to call him out anytime he was eating bad food, like actually to trash talk him and say like, hey, get it together.
Yeah.
And that kind of aggressive one-on-one doesn't really work. Like having your partner or your sweetheart police you all the time or be like, knock it out of my hands if I buy it, like shame me if I do whatever. That's a kind of an aggressive status for a relationship.
Yeah.
Now,
even with you and I, like you will sometimes say to me, the kitchen is closed. Do not let me go back in there by myself. And I find I have a hard time calling you out on that because I feel bad. Like, but I do it anyway, but then you don't always react. You're like, I'm like, you told me to stop you from going in the kitchen.
Well, I definitely do better when I announce my intention. So sometimes when I'm saying the kitchen is closed, I don't actually, it's not an action anyone is taking. I'm just saying it so that I feel more self-conscious about going in there.
Right.
But I do with our daughter and my questioner husband. I do sometimes, like if you know I'm quiet in the kitchen after 8 p.m., I'm probably not doing dishes or writing thank you cards.
Yeah.
I'm probably secret eating.
Probably.
So it's a weird position to be in as an obliger. And I think, I mean, this is something I wanted to talk about was that obligers can hide in plain sight. And they can, once you start being quiet and once you stop looking for that external accountability, that might be when the danger is coming in, when you go quiet and stop showing up for your Weight Watcher meetings, which I would do, or your accountability groups. Obligers really need that external accountability. And they also struggle. And the article by Rachel Trotta talked about how they really struggle with negative influences. So they're great when they're in an accountability group or when they're showing up and when they're tracking. But when there's negative influences like travel, visits from family members, business trips, that kind of thing, they are easily derailed. And by they, I mean me.
Yeah, that obliger thing can go the other way. You know, that's sort of like that peer pressure of, come on, just have one slice, just have one beer. Like, you know, that you know, you want to feel like you're joining in and part of the group. And that drive amongst obligers is stronger than it is in a lot of people.
Well, and I think too, like Donald was saying, for the external accountability, I have a really hard time saying no to people. And this ties in specifically to emotional eating because obligers often overbook themselves, overcommit themselves, are meddling in other people's affairs and business. Like, no, but I used to do that. Like all my family problems were mine to solve. All the problems at our daughter's elementary school were mine to solve, like joining the governance council and being on the PTA. You put yourself out there so much, and food is a way to find satisfaction when no one else is appreciating all the hard work they didn't ask you to do, but you're doing anyway because you feel obligated. So really paying attention to your overcommitment and your boundaries, that has been my biggest problem in all of this, is having no boundaries with other people and then using food as my reward system for being overworked, underpaid, undervalued.
Yeah, and it's like being so concerned with helping other people solve their problems that you don't worry enough about solving your own problems. So what are some practical ways, like, you know, you have reached your goal weight, you've maintained this for what now, 2.5, almost 3 years, something like that. What are some practical things that you've done in order to make that happen?
For me, being very candid and open with accountability groups has changed everything. I used to suffer from bulimia and secret eating and emotional eating. And the more I have talked about that, like having a podcast, the more I talk about it, the less shame I feel around it. The more when I isolate myself, that's when the negative habits come back. So for me, I've been in accountability groups, whether it be other or my own, for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
That has been huge. Using a habit tracker has been super important. Counting calories in my Fitbit has been important, and having challenges with other people, whether it's and we talked about this yesterday in Human Life.
Yeah.
we are currently self-isolating together, and I am doing yoga every day. And a neighbor decided that she would also do yoga. So we were checking in with each other via text every day to say, hey, did you do today's practice? Did you not? Donald is not motivated by external accountability, and he's not doing yoga. So it was really nice to have a partner to check in with every day.
I mostly just don't feel like doing yoga.
That's fine. But I am motivated by calendars. I am motivated by puffy stickers and scratch and sniff stickers. So I get a sticker every day.
Yeah, like all of your habit trackers and calendars, like she puts a sticker on a calendar every time she does something.
And it actually motivates me. Seeing that consistency over time really helps. Being in Wolt Place and having challenges, check-in accountability challenges has been really great for me. And checking in with others and knowing that they're expecting me to check in really matters. I created my own problem by, this is off topic. We have a niece who is 15 years old who refinished a piece of furniture. And she lives on the other side of the country. And I created my own accountability by telling her I was going to refinish a piece of furniture because she motivated me to do it. I wanted her to feel good about, like, she did it and I'll do it too.
Yeah, but once you told her that you were going to do it, and then she gave you the impression she was counting on you to do it, then it became like you have to do it. Like, we have made several trips.
To the hardware store by foot. So we're getting in steps, but that creating outer accountability for yourself, signing up for a virtual 5K, signing up for, checking in with other people in some sort of a gamification thing might be a good way to get accountability. Having people expect you and need you to show up. Lead a group, even if you're not, like, I am an introvert, but for me, leading online accountability groups is great because other people are counting on me and I don't have to hang out socially.
Yeah, one of the things that Gretchen Rubin suggests was if you're trying to start a business or you're trying to start something, like, commit to holding a class. And then once people are counting on you, then you do it. Now, I'm not saying, become a fitness instructor and then hold a class, but the idea here is make other people count on you to do the things that you actually want to do in terms of your health and fitness goals. Like, in some way, make yourself accountable to somebody else for it. And that is, motivation to make it happen for yourself.
Exactly. So that's like a good Instagram thing to do would be to, like, hey, every Saturday I'm going to post a new recipe. Hey, every Sunday I'm going to post all the seasonings that I use on my food. Every Monday I'm going to show my fitness tracker. Like, being able to show up and have people expect that of you can really matter. So
yeah, find somebody else who is also trying to do this, and you guys trade your food logs or something, so that you have to log your food then, because someone else is going to be counting on you to get your food log, just as an example.
Yeah, and Gretchen Rubin also talks about how one-on-one accountability with someone else who's also struggling might be a dangerous pattern, because if you're just one-on-one with someone else who's also struggling and one of you kind of disappears or stops returning text messages, then that you lose your accountability because they've been hiding. But if you get a group of 4 to 5 people, a small group who's everyone is relying on one another, then you've got some people who are super motivated, some who need a little extra boost. So having a small cluster of people to help hold you accountability can be a good way.
You can also diversify too, and have somebody who's helping you stay on track with fitness, and a different person who's helping you stay on track with food, which would help that a little bit. If one of them disappears, you still have the other one, kind of a thing. And not to make this a commercial for Wolt Place, but
W-O-L-T.
the group Wolt Place that we have online is basically for you. If this sounds like you, like, this is your external accountability. There are people in that group that are counting on you to be there and participate and do this, and it can be very motivating for you then to achieve your goals.
Yeah, and I think for obligers too, and on a final point, obligers hate letting other people down. So you have to be very careful about choosing the right group the right personal trainer, because if you're working with someone who makes you feel any shame about what you're doing, or like I worked out with a personal trainer, I really didn't like the plan, but I felt obligated because I had paid for it and he was counting on me. It was really hard for me to break away from that. So knowing myself better and knowing that about my personality, it's okay to audition plans. Hey, let's try it out for 2 weeks and see if it works. Kind of like the questioner. Hey, you know what? I'll commit to 2 weeks. I'll commit to Weight Watchers for a month, see how that goes. Audition your plan and then make a decision from there. It's not like a one-way road forever and ever and ever. You can change course if something isn't fitting your needs.
Absolutely. And that brings us to what I think is maybe the most difficult group to motivate, is the rebels. And the rebels are the people who, they might say to themselves, it's a really good idea. It would be a really good idea for me to vacuum the living room today. And then I would come in the room and say, hey, it'd be a really good idea for you to vacuum the living room today. And they would go, no way, I'm not doing that. There's no way.
Man.
You can't make me man.
Well, our daughter is a rebel.
Absolutely.
And what again is the rebel...
The rebel code is you can't make me, and neither can I.
Yeah, they work against themselves.
Which it's almost like they want to do whatever the opposite is that they're expected to do. They want to do the opposite of what other people ask them to do, and they want to do the opposite of what they think they should do a lot of times too.
Well, it's sort of that like free spirit, spontaneous.
Yeah.
What am I going to feel like doing today? Like go where the wind takes you. And it's a mercurial group. It's a smaller group, but it's also based on the article from Gretchen Rubin and from that fitness trainer that I mentioned before. They work against their own self-interest often.
All the time.
They were saying that they find it hard to adhere to a program. Even if they know they want to lose weight, they can't seem like I've tried everything, nothing works. And it can be really unmotivating and it can feel like it's impossible. But what Gretchen Rubin talks about is appealing to one's sense of identity.
Yeah.
What does being a rebel mean to you? What does it mean about the kind of person you are?
Yeah, it's about how do you want other people to see you? Do you want other people to see you as the kind of person who is unmotivated and slothful and can't climb stairs and eats terribly? Or do you want to be seen as somebody who is amongst the elite, one of the people who have gotten it together, who is like super fit and running upstairs at age 70 and, sticking to a food plan that few others have been able to stick to.
Right.
And, you're going to hit your goal weight and you're going to maintain it and achieve it. And almost nobody else is able to do this, but you are, because you are a rebel and you can do this.
Totally. And I know that the rebel tendency has a very spur of the moment, what do I feel like doing right now? But if your core identity is one of adventure and free, being a free spirit, you can work that to your advantage. It doesn't mean eating everything that you see. It doesn't mean indulging in every opportunity. But it means proving everyone else wrong. Nobody else thought you could do it, like Donald said, and you got it done. What example are you setting for others? Your kids, your nieces, your nephews, your students.
Yeah.
Are they looking to you going like, wow, she, goes snorkeling in the Great Barrier Reef and she's a great teacher and she's physically active, like all these different things, appealing to the real sense of adventure and free spirit. Doing things on your terms. Weight Watchers might not be something that you want to do, but finding a plan that really speaks to who you see yourself as, like in a vision board. Is your vision board like Twinkies and couch, and that's how you're a rebel? Or is your vision board, exotic cuisine and rock climbing?
Yeah, exactly. And you have to be careful about identifying yourself as like a wine connoisseur, for example, or a beer connoisseur,
right.
and not falling into that trap of, well, I'm a wine connoisseur, so I have to drink so much wine that I can't possibly lose weight. Like, right. I can't possibly be fit. I I am the world's greatest pizza person, like I'm somebody who tries all the pizza in the world. Like that's the flip side of this. It's identifying as the person that you really want to be. Like, are people going to be impressed by the pizza guy?
Yeah.
Or are they going to be impressed by the fit person?
Right. Well, and also rebels, I think, have discerning taste. It's not, they're not getting Domino's every night.
Right.
They want to try the exquisite and the best wine and the best beer, which can be done in pairing with a sense of adventure or doing some sort of extreme sports or kind of the out of the ordinary, something that makes you special. Sure, we went wine tasting, but we also the next day went, and hiked Half Dome. Like, those are the kind of people, like that rebellious spirit, that person who is the envy of others.
Yeah. And sorry, I probably just cut you off as you were about to say this, but Rachel Trotta said something in her article you told me about how they like extreme workouts.
Right. So it might be the kind of person who does a kettlebell workout or who does keto or cuts out sugar. Those kind of extreme, like only the few and the elite are the kind of people who get this thing done. And I think the biggest thing about rebels, and it's something that it's finding that balance between spontaneity and really investing in yourself, is if you aren't investing in your body, if you aren't investing in your health, you could be missing out on future adventures. If you are not in shape and you have this, this idea of going snorkeling or bungee jumping or going on thrill rides or, hiking the Appalachian Trail, like those are things that require stamina and fitness and discipline. And if you identify as a rebel who's going to get things done, like Chopin, like that.
Wait, was Chopin an upholder or a rebel now?
We don't know. Let's excavate him. How about that?
We'll figure it out. Make him take the quiz.
But you are going to prove everyone wrong. It was unlikely. You grew up in, an indulgent family, but you broke the mold, and you are the person who is disciplined enough to carve out a new life for yourself. You are the kind of person who can let go of your old habits and the old expectations. Everybody who said you couldn't get it done, and you're the kind of person who breaks out of the mold and gets it done. And we would love for you to really think about that and really think about the kind of person who is spontaneous, who can go snorkeling, who can go rock climbing. Like, those are the adventurers, and that's the spirit of adventure, not Twinkies on the couch.
Exactly. And we would like all of you to harness that spirit of adventure to some point. My spirit of adventure extends to walking up and down stairs a lot of times.
I think about Half Dome.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch it on the television.
It's fun to watch somebody else think about climbing something like that. But the idea is, to sum up, hopefully you can take one of these tendencies, figure out which applies to you. Take the quiz at Gretchen Rubin if you need to. It's a fun quiz, even if you think you know who you are, and hopefully motivate yourself to achieve your weight loss and fitness goals.
Exactly. And I think, just putting a fine point on that, knowing myself better has changed everything.
Oh, yeah.
Gretchen Rubin has so many different constructs of personality types, motivation types. And listening to her podcast and reading her book Better Than Before, understanding the difference between being someone who can moderate their portions, like Donald. I'm glaring at you with daggers right now, with dagger forks. Dagger forks.
If looks could kill, this would be a solo podcast next week.
But I am an abstainer from certain foods. Donald is a moderator. And knowing myself, going to the Gretchen Rubin page, her podcast, and really understanding myself better has honestly changed my life for the better. I thought this was just about adhering to calories and adhering to going to the gym. It is so much more than that. And the more that you can develop your self-understanding by knowing your tendency and beyond, the more adept you will be at modifying your plan and being successful.
Very, very true. And part of being successful is listening to this podcast.
You did
We Only Look
it.
Thin, and you have done it. You have reached the end of this week's
They said you couldn't
episode.
do it, but you did it.
That's right, you rebels out there. So thank you so much for listening. We are truly grateful for each and every one of you, and we are truly grateful for your reviews. If you wouldn't mind doing us a favor and going to Apple Podcasts and leaving us a rating and a quick review, it really helps us out on Apple. Apple does this thing where the more ratings and reviews people have, the higher their show gets boosted in the search results when people are searching for, fitness and weight loss type podcasts.
And it also boosts our mood.
Oh, yeah,
So,
no, we like it too.
Let's see. A rebel, do it if you want to. I don't care. I don't care if you do it. What you want. Obliger, come on.
Come on.
Do it for us.
Do it for us.
Questioner,
Help us out.
it makes sense. Robot
It makes
and
sense
data.
because it helps people find the show. Which maybe that's why I say that all the time.
And an upholder, do what's right. You want what's best for you.
You know it's
and
the right
for
thing to
us.
do. You just listen to this episode for free.
Yeah. Man, we sound really manipulative
I know,
right now,
we
don't
sound
you?
terrible. Exactly.
It's so awful when our daughter, when I know because she's a rebel, if I talk to her the right way, you can't rebound. Oh, yeah, yes, I can.
Oh, I know. I know. It's so terrible. It feels so...
It's classic rebel behavior.
Yeah, it's good times, though. So thank you so much. If you would like to tell us how you have harnessed your tendency, please reach out to us at weonlylookthin@gmail.com. If you have other suggestions for other episodes, we would love to have them. We've done a few episodes lately that were completely inspired by listener emails, and we love hearing from you. And we always do respond, even if it takes a minute.
A minute, a while.
Yeah.
Do they use minutes in other lands? Is that a common
I don't know.
metric? There's
I
the
think
metric
so.
system, and then there's the inches. I don't know, whatever. But you can, find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at We Only Look Thin. You can email us. You can find Wolt Place by going to weonlylookthin.com and clicking on Join Our Support Group. Lots of ways to stay connected.
Yeah, and as we said, Wolt Place is a great way to get that accountability if you're looking for it, regardless of whatever your tendency is. It is there.
Yeah. So if you're still unsure whether you need a sorting hat or a Four Tendencies quiz, just remember that Donald and I are an inspiration.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.